Welcome into Weather Wednesday here at New England Storm Center. So, an area of low pressure will form off the coast of the mid Atlantic and pass well south of New England on Friday afternoon into Friday night. This track, which hasn't changed much over the past few days, would keep a majority of the precipitation out of New England. Despite this, there could be some light accumulations across southern New England, mainly south of the Mass Turnpike. With a track outside the benchmark, this would be one of those times where Cape Cod is the jackpot zone for snow. It does look like the jackpot from this system will be very low. Uh, Areas south of the Pike may see 1 to 3 inches, so this should be a minor event, much like Tuesday, except this one may be even more minor. Eastern Massachusetts could see some ocean enhancement with an onshore flow. This could boost snowfall rates, especially across Cape Cod and the South Shore. Still, this should be a minor snowfall, even with the ocean enhancement aspect. Snow north of the Mass Pike will depend on the system's exact track, but as of now, northern New England is looking at cloudy skies with a couple of flurries or snow showers. After this system, the cold comes pouring in. It'll be a cold rest of the week, but the cold really peaks on Saturday for New England as an expansive trough slides over the eastern United States. This will allow the Arctic air mass that's been over the central United States to come into the east. The air mass will modify as it moves eastward, so it won't be as cold as it has been in the Midwest. An expansive area of high pressure will set up over the central U.S., which will allow colder air to spill into New England. Highs Saturday will struggle to make it to 20 across New England, with most of northern New England topping out in the low to mid teens. Wind chills will remain in the single digits on either side of zero during the day Saturday, and sub zero wind chills will likely last through Sunday morning for all of New England, before a slight warming trend into Sunday. Heading into next week, confidence has been fairly high that this cold snap will be short lived and a return to above average temperatures is likely for the second half of January, which we did write in our January monthly outlook. We put out a monthly outlook at the beginning of every month, and for January's, we said that cold snaps this month would likely be short lived, and this one appears to end by the start of next weekend with again pretty high confidence in above average temperatures returning. So, turning the page back to last week's storms on January 10th and January 13th, they were really kitchen sink kind of storms. They brought all the hazards that New England can face during a storm, with heavy rain and river flooding and street flooding and flash flooding, strong damaging winds, heavy snow, and coastal flooding. Through all of these hazards, there was the coastal flooding that really came to a head during both of these storms. It was rather unexpected for the January 10th storm. Coastal flooding was the threat was there, but it was expected to be minor. Some areas had crests 18 inches higher than forecasts, and that really became the story for January 10th. Heading into the January 13th storm, coastal flooding during that, we knew going into that storm that that was going to be a significant impact with peak astronomical high tides and a strong onshore flow. And we knew that there was a chance for historic levels. That is what ended up playing out, unfortunately, after significant flooding and damage just a couple of days before. You then get into this historic coastal flooding just 3 days later on January 13th. Areas up and down the Maine coast saw top five crests all time for coastal flooding. Bangor, Bar Harbor, Cutler, Calais, and Portland all saw top five crests during both of these storms. During the January 10th storm, Bangor saw their second highest crest ever. Bar Harbor saw their all time highest crest. Cutler saw its second highest. Eastport, Maine saw its 10th highest. And Calais saw its fourth highest crests. On January 13th, Bangor saw its fourth highest crest. Bar Harbor saw its all time highest crest. So did Cutler. Eastport saw its fourth highest, and Calais saw its second highest. And Portland also saw its all time highest crest on January 13th, beating the blizzard of 78. Now, it should be noted that for some of these observation stations, records have not been kept for all that long. Bangor has records dating back to 2012, Cutler 2010, and Calais goes back to 2015. However, some longer standing records were broken. The Bar Harbor records date back to 1947. They saw their all time highest. And Eastport's records date back to 1929, and they saw their fourth highest. Portland's records date back to 1912, and again, they saw their all time highest crest on January 13th. Hampton, New Hampshire, we'll throw that in there as well. Hampton's records also only date back to 2012, but they saw their highest crests on January 13th. It was actually Bar Harbor saw their all time highest crest broken on January 10th before getting broken again just 3 days later on January 13th. So it's really remarkable that these two major coastal flooding events happened just 3 days apart. Again, a lot of these stations seeing top five crests just 3 days apart. This naturally did result in quite a bit of damage along the coast of Maine and New Hampshire. Just to go over some of the damage reports that did come in, reported by the National Weather Service from people on the ground that witnessed these events happen. In Portland, there was those three iconic fish shacks at Willard Beach that were completely washed away into the ocean. In Tremont, a dock house was washed away as well. That house was over 100 years old, getting washed away. Chipman's Wharf in Millbridge was reported to be destroyed. Castine saw a boatyard under 5 to 10 feet of water, inundating and damaging both structures and vehicles. Most piers in Pigeon Hill Bay were destroyed. Propane tanks and dumpsters were seen floating down the streets of Bangor. Extensive damage was seen in Scarborough, where roads and homes around Higgin Beach saw heavy damage. Firefighters in the town were forced to wade through nearly waist deep water to battle a blaze. Old Orchard Beach saw multiple water rescues and electrical fires as well. Acadia National Park did not escape the damage. Ocean Path, which is a very popular hiking trail, was reported to be destroyed. Route 3 in Bar Harbor was flooded with both water and debris, and Southwest Harbor saw large rocks thrown onto Seawall Road, making it impassable. And heading down the coast into Hampton, New Hampshire, saw all roads in and out of Hampton Beach closed. There was major splash over going on along Hampton Beach, and quite a lot of sea foam developing in that area. In Hampton, a wave was reported to have crashed through the window of a home and began flooding the home. The homeowner was home at the time, and they were rescued. So it was a very serious, very devastating time along the Maine coast last week. And Maine really has been hit pretty hard by storms over the past month. Of course, it started about a month ago now on December 18th with historic river flooding going on across central Maine. And then, of course, you have these two storms that come in. That December 18th storm also saw over 400,000 power outages in the state. And then you have these two storms last week, bringing historic coastal flooding as well as wind damage and power outages. So the cleanup is underway. across Maine after a very active month. Thankfully, things are starting to calm down now. It is getting cold, but I'm sure a lot of people in Maine would prefer this colder weather with some lower impact snow events over this intense wind and rain and coastal flooding. So I'm sure it's a welcome turn here to at least get a break from the storms, and we'll deal with much more winter like weather here with the cold and some snow. So that is going to do it for this edition of the Weather Wednesday here at New England Storm Center. So as always, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and you will hear from me again next Wednesday. I almost said next weekend. I don't know why I would have said that.